Now let us start the new assembly called as machine wise. These are the different parts of a machine wise are shown in this sketch. Let us start creating the parts one by one. Next, the first part is called as machine wise body. Now in the machine wise body, let us create this portion only. Whatever the profile we have right now here, let us create this profile. The length of this line is measuring as 57 millimeter. The length of this line is going to measure it as 220 millimeter, because from here to here it is 5 millimeter, here to here it is 5 millimeter. Then the length of line is given as 85 millimeter, and from this portion to this portion it is measuring as 40 minus 5, that is 35 millimeter. The length of this line is given as 25 millimeter and it is having a radius of 10 millimeter. Now let us create this shape at the first. Now let us go for solid part. Let us go for a protrusion. Let me select the front plane as a sketching plane. Now using a line command, let me create that profile as it is. Now let us create the profile as it is. Now just I am drawing the similar shape. Now after drawing the shape, make use of distance between command and the dimension between smart dimension commands. Give the values. This value is given as 110 millimeter. The distance from these two lines is given as 220 millimeter. In the same fashion, the length of this line is given as 85 millimeters. Then the length of this line is given as 25 millimeters. Then the length of this line is given as 57 millimeters. Similarly, the length of these two lines is given as 35 millimeters and the length of these two lines is given as 5 millimeters. Now we have given all the respective values. Using a command called fillet, let us give the radius value as 10 mm, which is supposed to be from here to here. The radius value is supposed to be 10 millimeter. Now using collinear command, this line must be placed on this position. Now let me say return. Now using symmetric extent, give the distance as 100 millimeter, because this thickness is given as 100 millimeter in the sketch. After drawing these things, now we have to construct this portion. Now let us study this profile. Accordingly, let us create the same profile, excluding this R13 lines. Excluding this R13 lines. Now let me go for protrusion command. Now let me select the sketching plane as the top plane. Now using a line command, now let us start creating the profile which is similar to that one. Now this is a base shape which is going to look like a trapezoid. In the trapezoid, if you observe, we have a portion like this. Now let me draw a rectangle. Using a circle by center point command, let me draw a circle like this. Now using the trim command, let us remove the portion which is at the center. This is how it is going to look like. Make use of tangent command. This line is tangent to this arc and this line is tangent to this arc. After this, we are also having the fillet, that is nothing but this portion has been filleted for R13 and the distance between those two centers is given as 40 millimeter, and from here to here this distance is nothing but 13 millimeter, which is equal to the radius. Now the distance from this center to this center is given as 154 minus 100 mm will be the distance from here to here and here to here, which will be coming 54. Now it is on both the sides. The distance from this edge to this center will be 27 mm. That is 154 minus 100 divided by 2. Now let us create it accordingly. Now making use of fillet command, let us set the fillet radius as 13 mm. From here to here 13 mm, here to here it is 13 mm. After giving these things, then go for symmetric relationship. Select this as the axis. These two lines must be symmetrical to each other. These two arcs must be symmetrical. Then these two lines must be symmetrical. Then these two lines must be symmetrical. Now make use of distance between command or smart dimension. Then start giving the values. The dimension between these two center is given as 40 millimeter. Next, the distance between this point and this line is given as 13 millimeter. In the same fashion, the distance between these 2 points is given as 120 millimeter. Similarly, the distance from here to this center is given as 27 millimeters. Now, using this smart dimension, the dimension of this is given as 8 millimeter. Now, we have given all the necessary dimensions. Now, after giving all the necessary dimension, let us make sure that it is supposed to be 13.5. It is measuring it as 7.5, which is supposed to be 13 mm, which is supposed to be 13 mm. And let us change here also, which is supposed to measure as 13 mm. Yes. Now both the sides are 13 mm. Now using return, now we can give the thickness as 20 millimeter. Now we have created only one side. On the other side also the same thing has to be created. So let us go for protrusion 2, then edit profile. Now using this edit profile command, select the sketch whatever we have completed, then make use of a command called mirror. Let us select this plane as a reference. Now you can see at a time both the sides we are getting the same objects. After this, once again using the same protrusion command, let us select this face as a sketching face. Now using the circle command, let us create a circle over here. Then using a line, let us start creating a lines like this. Now we are creating a lines here. Then using a trim command, let us trim this portion, and using tangent command, this circle and line is supposed to be tangent to each other. Now they are tangent. Next, if you observe, we have this portion which is like a horse or shoe. Next, this larger dimension is given as R13. So R13 minus R8 is nothing but offset distance 5 millimeter. Now we have a command called offset. Let us make use of this command. Then give the distance as 5 millimeter, and it should be a chain. Chain means the complete sketch will be selected. Accepted. In the outside 5 mm or inside 5 mm, both the things I can select. Now I wanted outside. Let us go for outside. Then let us stop it because I wanted only one instance. But the chain can be repeated for n number of instances. Using a line command, connect these two edges. Similarly, connect these two endpoints. Now after connecting these things, same thing should be appeared on the either side. So let us select it. Then make use of a command called mirror. Repeat the same thing which we have done for the second protrusion. Then say return. The height of this one is given as 3 mm. How it is 3 mm? Now let me explain it. Now we know that this shape is at a height of 20 mm. You can refer here. The shape is at a height of 20 mm. After this, one more shape is there which is at a height of 23 mm. That's why I have created at a height of 23 mm. Now here there is an extension of the cylindrical component, and here also there is an extension of cylindrical component. Both the diameter is 32 mm and both the height from the base is given as 30 mm. Now let us create those two components. Now make use of the protrusion command. Let me select this surface. Using circle by center point command, let me create a diameter of 32 mm circle. Now the 32 mm circle is supposed to be positioned from the bottom base at a height of 30 millimeter. Then say return. And the thickness is given as 5 mm. So let us give the distance as 5 mm. In the same fashion, at this position also we have to create the same thing. So using circle by center point command, let us create one more circle of diameter 32 mm, which is supposed to be the distance from here to here as 30 mm only. Now using return, then give the dimension as 5 mm on the other side. Now you can see we have created both these two components. After this, if you observe, we have a cutout here. Now the cutout is from here to here, here to here. Then these two lines are nothing but these two lines 1 and 2. It is at a distance of 52, this is at a distance of 60, and what is the distance from here to here? That can be measured in the top view, which is given as 40 mm. Now we have to do all these cutouts, which is starting from this surface. If you observe the front view, which is going to starting from this surface, now we have to do this sketching. Now how to do that? Let us go for solid edge. Now let us go for cutout command. Now which surface has to be selected? This surface has to be selected as cutout. Which is that surface? This surface. This is the surface we have to select it, and let us start our sketching. Now how it is going to look like? The sketch is going to look like this. A line here, a horizontal line, vertical line, horizontal line, which is connected here. In the same fashion, we have to do the lines like this. Now, I am just writing the approximate shape of that one. After writing approximate shape, we have a command called Symmetric Relationship. Make these two lines symmetrical to each other, these two lines symmetrical to each other, these two lines, and these two lines, and these two lines. Whatever the symmetrical is possible, give all the symmetrical relationship. Next, we know that this distance is given as 40 mm, which is measured in the top view. Next, this distance is given as 60 mm, which is measured in the side view. And one more dimension is 52 mm. One more dimension is 52 mm. The distance between these two lines is supposed to be 52 mm. Next, the height of this line is given as 10 mm. In the same fashion, the height of this line is given as only 3 mm. So after giving all the necessary values, then say return. Now what is the depth of cut? The depth of cut from this surface to here, it is 15 mm. Now you can observe here. From this surface to here, it is 15 mm. The total dimension is 230 mm. 230 minus 5, it will become 210 millimeter. So 210 minus 40. 210 minus 40 will comes around 170 mm. Then once again minus 5 mm. 5 mm is nothing but why? Because we already neglected the 5 mm here. So from here to here, sorry, from this surface to this surface is 15 mm. Now the total distance is 230 mm. 230 mm minus 45 mm, then 15 mm. So 230 minus 45 minus 15 mm is giving us 170 millimeters. And here you can see, here to here it is 5 mm, here to here is 45 mm. So this is 45 mm and this is 15 mm, and additionally this 5 mm is also there. So total 165 mm we are going to get it. The cutout value will become 165 millimeters. Now at a distance of 165 millimeters, I am going to do that cutout. It will be like this. After doing this cutout, next we observe here. Here we have a hole for a diameter of 12 millimeter through hole, and at this position also we have a through hole of diameter 20 meter. Let us create those two holes. Now using a command called hole, let me select this face. Using the hole option, let us change the diameter of a hole as 12 millimeter, which is supposed to be positioned here in the direction towards the material. Say finish. In the same fashion, here one more hole has to be created at a dimension of 20 mm. So here let us go for 20 mm dimension, then let me say OK, which has to be positioned at the center properly. Next, define the direction towards the material, then say finish. This completes those two holes. After that, now you can see there is a hole which is the countersink, that is given as oil hole diameter 3, but the countersink diameter is not given. If the countersink diameter is not given, assume the countersink diameter is equal to 2 into diameter. Now the diameter is given as 3, then the countersink diameter can be assumed as 6 mm. Now let us create that hole. Let me go for a hole command itself. Select the top face. Now using the hole options, let me go for a command called Countersink Hole. In the Countersink Hole, the diameter is 3 mm and the countersink's diameter is 6 mm, and assume the countersink angle as 90 degree always. And he has given through next, let me say OK. But where it has to be positioned? It has to be positioned at the center, and starting from this cylindrical end to this one is given as 20 millimeters. Now at the midpoint somewhere here, let me place it. Now the distance from the center to this edge is given as 20 millimeter. Then let me say return. Next, this hole is going to be created at that location. In the same fashion, at this face also, we need to create the same hole, which is a countersink. The diameter is 3 mm and the countersink diameter is 6 mm with a countersink angle of 90 degree. Now the distance here is 15 mm. The distance from here to here, it is 15 mm, which is given over here. Which is, sorry, it is not 15 mm, it is given as 10 mm from that edge. Now let us change it the value of 10 mm over there. Now say return. That hole is also going to be created. These two holes are called as oil holes to provide the lubrication between the mating parts. Now we have to create these two holes, which is nothing but two holes of diameter 5, deep 13 mm. After that it has to be tapped for M6, deep 10 mm. Now instead of creating these things, let us create a M6 hole of deep 13 mm, out of which 10 mm as the thread depth. 10 mm as a thread depth, which is positioned at 60 mm which is positioned at 60 mm symmetrically with respect to this axis, and at a height of 12.5 mm from this base. Now let us create those things. Now let me go for the hole command itself. Let me select this face as a sketching plane. Now let me go for a hole options. What are the hole options to be selected as? It has to be selected as threaded hole. Next, the diameter of the hole should be selected as 6 millimeter. Then which type of thread I wanted? I wanted only plain M6. So let me select only M6. The thread portion is supposed to be 10 mm. The hole depth is supposed to be 13 mm. Then along with V bottom we need to have. Now let us select the standard V bottom angle as 90 degree, or you can have it at the 118 degree itself. Now where it should be positioned? It should be positioned one here and one here. Next, using the smart dimension, the distance between the datum plane as well as this hole is 30 mm. In the same fashion, the distance between the datum plane and this hole center is 30 mm. Then the height from this edge to the center is given as 12.5 millimeter. Now here, if you take this edge, it will be wrong. Why? Because you please kindly refer here. This is nothing but this face. It is at a height of, it is exactly at the center. It is 25 by 2. It is 12.5 mm. Now we have placed the hole at the proper position. Then let me say return. Give the depth of cut. Then say finish. Now after this is going to complete almost all major parts of a component. Now if you observe here, this has been rounded. Now here the radius of round is not given, and here the radius of round is given as R3. Now let us make those rounds. Now make use of a round command, then which is R3, this edge is R3, that is nothing but this edge. Now let us make use of a command called round edge or corner. Select this is the one edge and this is the another edge. These are the two edges to be rounded for 3 mm. So let me see it. This is what? 3 mm round. In the same fashion, using edge or corner, select this edge and this edge and give the radius value as 5 mm, then preview, finish. These are the rounds which has to be done. Then if you refer the sketch properly, here also it has been rounded, that is these two edges is also going to be rounded, and that round is not given. Now let us consider that round value as 1 mm, because the not given values we have to assume it as 1 mm. Now that is this edge, and similarly here this edge. These are the two edges we have to select it, and it should be edge or corner of 1 mm radius, preview, finish. Now this completes almost all, that is not almost all, the complete portion of the body. Now go for save command. In the summary, give the title as body, then say OK. Next we have to create a folder in the name of machine wise. Now after creating a folder in the name of machine wise, in that folder we are supposed to save this body. Now this completes the first component of a machine wise.